What's up, everybody? We got George Knapp going to throw down for you right now. This is so cool. So two things. It was a real pleasure to talk with a bunch of you up here. Man, that is what we're here for, is to be able to talk with one another. This is the most fun convention UFO thing I've ever been to. It's my third time. I hope I get a fourth. I probably won't, because they gave me a golf cart and they do not know what they just did. But so guys, George Knapp got something prepared for you tonight. I'm excited to be a part of it.
I was walking out of the house yesterday, heading to the airport. I'm wearing these shoes with no socks, Skechers, some cargo shorts, and a Tommy Bahama shirt. And I thought, hey, maybe I better put on some pants. It's the first rule of ufology. You should always wear pants when you go out of the house. But I realized that Oregon, McMinnville, is very different from Las Vegas. You got this weird, strange droplets of unknown liquid that fall from the sky. And of course, thank you. And of course, it's green. You know, I love rain and moisture, and I, of course, moved to the driest state in the country. So I did wear pants. That's the good news. Jeremy and I are so glad to be here. It is the most fun UFO conference, and I've been at them all over the world. You know, by the way, this company, McMinnville's, you know, they buy old buildings, restore them, repurpose them, keep them alive. They have their own breweries and market beer. They grow their own grapes and produce a line of wines. They import coffee beans, roast their own coffee. And I'm just trying to figure out, do they need an investigative reporter to work for them? Because, by the way, some of those beverages I mentioned are on sale right over there, and Jeremy and I are much better when the audience is full of alcohol. So tonight we're going to have a little bit of fun. We're going to talk about disclosure, and I think we're going to do a back and forth, good cop, bad cop kind of a thing. And I know, as you would predict, I am bad cop. So Jeremy's going to be good cop, but you wanted to start with a little teaser?
Yeah, I just want to know, raise the hands, because some of you came up to me and said that you've watched Weaponized. Have you seen our podcast? Can I? Whoa. Oh, man, I am so sorry for you. Okay, well, yeah, so I got a little clip from Weaponized that I think will really resonate with some of you that just talked with me.
So on this podcast, it's fair to say we're going to talk a lot about UFOs. UFOs.
Full-time into UFOs.
Over 100 UFOs. The UFOs.
The UFO world came to my door.
There's UFO sightings and more.
Okay, this is really interesting.
What is your best piece of evidence that UFOs are real? Show it to me. Show it to me. Put it in my hands.
The sexual things that aliens had done.
Fuck this.
Yeah. This field is a mess. This topic is an absolute disaster.
All this shit about UFOs.
UFOs may not be extraterrestrial.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Corbell. I'm really into this, but I'm not a crazy person. I really want to know the truth. I've got a few things that I've been doing.
The hell was that?
UFOs.
UFOs every day.
By the way, Jeremy, we have a lot of fun together, travel around the world, interview interesting people. You know, after you covered this topic, UFOs, it's hard to go back to doing stories about the city council in Las Vegas or something, but he's kind of a marketing genius. He created these stickers, pardon my language in advance if you have kids in the audience, but the stickers say, it's a guy pointing to the object in the sky, that's a fucking flying saucer. So that's the only F-bomb I'm gonna drop tonight. But we got a bunch of these things, so we'll hand them out at some point this evening, right?
Yeah. I think that was episode 1. Somebody made a mashup. The internet is the undefeated champion of all time. Somebody put that together. But yeah, obviously we're talking about UFOs. However, the whole point of the word weaponized is it's anything that weaponizes our curiosity, that makes us go beyond a passive consumer and an active participant. So we thought we'd have friends on that are musicians. Those episodes bomb because people want to hear about UFOs. So, yeah. But look, it's really fun to do this work. This is not my day job. It's not George Knapp's day job. But this is something we're passionate about. But we have a massive disagreement. And that disagreement is about disclosure. So you're about to witness a no-holds-barred, bare-knuckle fight between me and George Knapp about what you call disclosure.
It won't get too nasty. We're kind of on the same page, but there are multiple points of view on this topic, and I know it's something that's of interest to all of you here. And I guess I'll start, and I'll be bad cop. I am not by nature an optimistic guy. I find dark clouds in every silver lining, and you know, I've been around the topic long enough now that I've seen these peaks and valleys in public interest, interest in Congress, interest by media and academia, and it always seems to go away. We think, oh gosh, this could be it. This is when it's going to happen finally. And then something else takes over as the top priority. You know, for about a total of about 2 minutes as the new Trump administration is coming in, I was thinking, well, maybe they will do something. And it's primarily because really powerful people around him, people who are behind the scenes that you do not see, had reached out and talked to us and said, we're really serious about it now. I'm now of the opinion that these tech billionaires, as James was hinting about in the intro, they want their hands on the technology. They figure this technology is real, there are crashes, there are recovered materials and bodies and technology that has been sitting in hangars of defense contractors, aerospace companies for 70 years or so, and they haven't seemed to have done much with it, as far as we know, and it's our turn. And we're smart guys, and hand it over. That's what I think is kind of going on. So I would like to be proven wrong about it. Of course, disclosure means different things to different people, and how would it go? How would we go about it? What would it look like? What would the effects be? Who would do it? How far do they go in telling the story? Is there really anybody who knows the full story? And I'm not sure there is. Jeremy and I have been pretty far up the food chain in military and intelligence circles and the people who should know. And I don't think I've ever found somebody who knows all the big picture stuff at all. So what do you disclose? And I think you, everyone here, probably has a strong interest in the topic. You wouldn't have come out otherwise. And you probably are the crazy UFO person in your family, in your office, right? Oh God, Uncle Bob talking about UFOs again over Thanksgiving dinner. Oh geez, George at the water cooler doing those UFO alien stories again. You're that person. And I think what we really would like, more necessarily than knowing where they're from, why they're here, you'd like somebody to step up and say, and admit, yeah, we've been lying. We've been lying through our teeth all these years, right? You would. That's what, because then you could go to that asshole in the office, see, I told you, you know. But I'm not counting on that happening. I don't think it's going to happen. You know, I don't think it's going to happen under this administration, and I'm not sure it ever will. I think, you know, when I started down this road in '87, talking to John Lear, the idea that there were crashed flying saucers and reverse engineering seemed pretty far out there. I was agog. Oh my God, what is this crazy person talking about? 2 years, so I started reading about it a little bit. 2 years later, I meet Lazar, who had this incredible story. I know that people have different opinions about Bob Lazar, and we can get into that a little bit later when we open up for questions. But what he was saying about crash retrievals and reverse engineering, that's not the far fringe of this topic anymore. That's front and center. You have people like David Grush appearing before Congress and the nation on television, every network, all the cameras there, all the big media, swearing under oath, yeah, there are crash retrievals, there are materials of unknown origin, there are biologics, bodies that are somewhere. I mean, that definitely moves the ball in a different direction. But is it enough to prompt somebody like the president or the Pope or somebody else with credibility to come forward and admit that this stuff is real? It's not just a fringe theory, it's getting a lot of attention. UFO crashes are now pretty well documented. And you know, if you had doubt 10 years ago that this stuff was real, that we had bodies, that they really did have this stuff stashed away, and of using legitimate national security programs to keep the secret and lie to you, I think we've seen enough information in the public arena to say that that's no longer true. There have been a number of times in the past, peaks and valleys, as I said, of interest, and times when it looked like, all right, maybe this is going to happen, and then they go away. Look, you know, in your own lives, what's more important, UFO disclosure or the rent, your kids, your job, food, It's the same thing for Congress. When it seems like there's a core of people who are really interested in the subject right now, we don't question their motives. They're really interested in getting to the bottom of it, but then something else happens. Ukraine, Iran, Russia, tariffs, taxes, budget deficits, things of that sort. It's the nature of their business. So it's great to see members of Congress pushing right now for some kind of disclosure, but it's happened before, and we didn't get it. And 35 years ago this month, I put together a story for KLAS that included interviews with people who are no longer around, most of them, talking about disclosure and how it would go. And so maybe we can play that little clip.
In 1960, NASA published a study that hypothetically pondered the effects of human contact with an alien civilization. The study concluded such contact would result in anarchy, the complete disintegration of human society, institutions, religions, governments, unless it was handled in a very gradual manner, with the public being slowly conditioned to accept it. Otherwise, panic.
Okay, so we're going to try something a little different today. I'm going to tell you about a product that I've actually used and has helped me. It's called ZocDoc. You know, when you have an injury, or you have a swollen eye, or you've hurt your knee or your back and you're not sure like who to go to, and you create all these excuses like it's going to heal on its own, I don't know who to go to, or just I don't have time. That's where I found using ZocDoc as a way to book my appointments. You can literally go online and fill in all your information, and they'll tell you which doctors are within your network, and you can go see, and you get like recommendations. So it's a totally different way to like book your appointment other than how I do it, which is like going onto Google, going down some rabbit hole and trying to figure out who to go see. So it's been super helpful for me. I've actually used it a bunch of times, and you should check it out too. So ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high quality in-network doctors and click to instantly book an appointment. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/weaponized to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/weaponized, ZocDoc.com/weaponized. I've used it. It really helped me out. I think you're going to like it too, so check it out. ZocDoc.com/weaponized.
If you go on the air and say the age of the world is over, tomorrow we die, I suppose so. But I think that the government's too smart to do that. I think it has to be done properly.
What is the proper way? How does a president tell the public the government's been lying all these years, that beings from beyond are really here? The difficulty of such a pronouncement may itself be a reason for non-disclosure.
What politician in his right mind would want to get up in front of a national press conference and say,
"My fellow Americans, I come to you before you tonight with an announcement of great importance. Despite all our denials, flying saucers do in fact exist."
We don't really know what their intentions are. We don't really know whether they're going to be friendly or not.
They can fly circles around the best aircraft we have in flight.
We are unable to duplicate any of the metals found on the several craft we have recovered, nor are we able to figure out how they are propelled.
We do know they can paralyze anybody they want to at will, take them into their craft.
We do not know if they represent a threat, but we know that they're here and there isn't a damn thing we can do about it.
We have really nothing positive to say about that. Thank you and good night.
This was 35 years ago. We're having the same conversation. The one thing we know for sure about this topic is our government has lied through its teeth, and it's always been that way. It's what got me attracted to the topic. Bob Lazar got my attention, but then when I started researching it, I realized they have been lying their asses off all this time. Lying to our teeth, to Congress, spending who knows how much money to keep this cover-up going. And there is a paper trail to prove it, and that's what got me hooked. All these documents, reports, memos that went back and forth between the military and the intelligence agencies in which they admit these things are real, they're not ours, we don't think they're Russians, they're from somewhere else, and they might be extraterrestrial. Those reports were real, and they wrote them in candor because they figured we would never see them. And then the Freedom of Information Act became the law in the 1970s, and suddenly these agencies that had said, we don't have any documents, had to cough up thousands and thousands of pages. And the track record is pretty clear. There was something called Project Saucer. And then there was Project Sign, and Project Grudge, and Project Blue Book, and we know how all those went. Project Twinkle. They were really trying to figure it out at times, and then when the higher-up said, I'm not releasing this, I'm not signing this report, the whole tenor of the thing changed, and there's never been really an honest inquiry into the topic since then. More recently, we've had OSAP, this program that was based in Las Vegas. It was like a gift that fell from heaven for me as a reporter in Las Vegas. Suddenly the largest known, acknowledged government UFO investigation ever is right in my backyard, and it's with Robert Bigelow and Harry Reid, who's the guy who got the funding for it. I have great access to them, all their managers and program executives and things, so that they asked me to join twice. I would have had to get a security clearance, so I didn't. I figured I'm gonna know enough about this program just by osmosis that I can still do some stories someday. Well, that someday was 10 years later, but if I had gotten a security clearance, I wouldn't have been able to report it even now. And then after OSAP was killed, once the Pentagon found out they really are trying to get to the bottom of this, they killed it. Then came ATIP, and Lou Elizondo will be here to talk about that tomorrow. And then after the New York Times story of 2017, Congress starts asking questions, and they created something that eventually became the UAP Task Force, headed by Jay Stratton. They were actually doing some honest work. They were collecting information. They were getting witnesses, videos, things of that sort. And of course, that had to go, and they killed that. And they replaced it with something, this unimaginably brutal acronym called AIMSOG, is I think how they pronounced it. And then AIMSOG became ARROW, and we all know what we're dealing with ARROW, and we'll talk about that further. So, I think that ARROW is basically a debunking effort. It is an intelligence gathering operation. They ask witnesses to come in, they want whistleblowers to come forward, they take all that testimony and then just dump it out, disregard it, say it's not credible. There's no evidence of any of this stuff. They were trying to find out who knows what, and got all these people to come forward and treated them like crap. And they have allies in social media that we'll talk about a little bit, and I think they have operatives. I know it sounds like a Men in Black paranoid scenario, but I think they have operatives in this field who've been inserted as UFO minor celebrities who are there to do bad things. And it's kind of a grim scenario, but I'll try to defend it a little bit later. One of the people I asked about disclosure many times, he's kind of like my idol. I don't think I have a boy crush on him, but Jacques Vallée, was one of the first people who came to Las Vegas after the Lazar series, and he met with Lazar and interviewed, and then I did an interview with him, and I've talked to him so many times over the years. He's written the most thought-provoking books, I think, in this field ever. A Passport to Magonia and Messengers of Deception. And so I got to interview him about his latest book. It's called Forbidden Science number 6, his personal journals, and includes a lot of stuff about OSAP, things that I was there for. So I wanted to ask him about the idea for disclosure, because he has been fighting this fight for a very long time. So here's what he had to say.
Just saying, well, just, disclose, doesn't answer any of that. Okay.
Jacques Vallée has been a central figure in UFO research and debate for more than 6 decades. He's often been at odds with UFO orthodoxy, was among the first to argue that the unknown craft seen for centuries in our skies and oceans may not be from other planets, but from other realities. He's heard the demands for an end to official secrecy many times, and at the same time has participated in secretive efforts himself, including a UFO study launched by the Defense Intelligence Agency in 2008 and hidden inside a Las Vegas aerospace company.
The atomic secrecy, primarily, which most people in the Pentagon are not cleared for, and then the military secrecy and the strategic secrecy, and then the diplomatic secrecy.
In Dr. Vallée's most recent book, Forbidden Science, Scattered Castles, he shares private exchanges with colleagues from the OSAP program, including Las Vegas billionaire Robert Bigelow and a close-knit group of scientists nicknamed the Lone Stars. The scientists, some of them former CIA contractors, accept that the U.S. government has recovered crashed vehicles of unknown origin, that defense contractors have worked for decades to reverse engineer that technology, at secretive facilities in the desert and elsewhere. They say adversary nations have done likewise. The race to duplicate that technology means national security is at stake. Ballet favors transparency, but worries that an official declaration could prove chaotic.
So if we want to disclose, even disclose something as simple as saying, yes, we acknowledge the phenomenon, and it seems to be from space, we would have to, once you do that, you have to answer 100 other questions. This is not the end. This is not the end of the story.
While Dr. Valet is encouraged by the renewed interest in UFOs within Congress, mainstream media, and academia, he thinks someone needs to craft a well-planned strategy for how to unleash what would likely be the biggest news story in history.
I think we should disclose, but we should disclose with a structure, and the structure hasn't been invented yet.
George Knapp, 8 News Now.
So I put that story on the air, and I got pummeled. It was like I was broadcasting, hey, Jacques Vallée is diddling your mom or something. You know, it was, people just pounded me. Whose side are you on? Why do you say we need a structure for this? You know, well, you do need a structure. Who's going to make the announcement? Is it going to be the Pope, the president? How far are they going to go? What are they going to say? Because once you make that announcement, it changes everything, and you will never have a day when you don't get asked questions that press for further answers. You know, Jeremy and I have talked about this a lot, and I'll turn this over to him in just a second, about the technology. It's really, the cover-up is about the technology. There is a race for that technology. We've interviewed so many insiders, some publicly and some not publicly, that say the U.S. has these materials and these craft. We're trying to figure out how they work. We're trying to duplicate it. That dates all the way back to Bob Lazar. And they believe that the Russians had it. Senator Harry Reid, who was in on every meeting that would happen of any importance on any issue, said he's pretty sure that Russia has the same kind of program going on, that China does. Israel might have it. Whoever gets that technology, whoever masters that technology, they win. You had one of those sport models that you could fly around, as Bob Lazar described what it could do. That's all you need. So how do you decouple national security concerns from a disclosure program? I don't see how you do it. As a good friend of ours in the intelligence community has said to us many times, you can't tell your friends without telling your enemies. So to me, I think that the national security issue always trumps the other issues, like, you know, public accountability and honesty in government. There are other issues, though, and there are other complications, and it's not just UFO book writers kicking ideas around. There was an attempt during the first George Bush administration to, hey, let's roll the dice and see what happens. They got together a bunch of these brainiacs, one of whom was Dr. Hal Puthoff, put them in a room, had a bunch of computers and a bunch of information and technology, and said, let's figure this out. And Hal Puthoff came out with an explanation of that at the last Saul conference, and here's the clip.
And when I arrived, there were about, 15, 20 people. I recognized some of them from the military, from CIA, DIA, some businessmen, and so on. So I thought, well, this is quite an interesting group of people. And so to start the conference off, he said, this conference is about disclosing something to the American public. As a startup position, let's assume that there have been crash retrievals by Russia, China, and the United States. And the question is, can we bring this out to the public? And so I think I, and most of the people I knew, when I talked to them later, said, oh, this is really cool. I mean, this could really go someplace. So he said, okay, the strategy we're going to use is we're going to make a list of all the areas that you think would be affected by this. And then on each one, you're going to have to grade them on a scale from +9 to -9 as to the level of impact and whether it's positive or negative. Okay. So we started out by making lists. So we started out with the obvious things. Well, I mean, the stock market, maybe religions. Well, certainly politics would be affected. So we made a long list. I mean, it was really a long list. And by the time we got down to the bottom of the list, we were really in the weeds. Like, okay, if Corporation A has access to retrieve materials that Corporation B doesn't, then when this comes out, Corporation B is going to sue Corporation A, they're sue the government. This is really going to be a tough thing to kind of handle. So, okay. So anyway, we broke up into groups, each taking a certain number of the things that were in our list. Okay. And in my group, we added up the numbers, +9 to -9. And we ended up in the negative category, even though we were kind of positively disposed to the idea. So I thought, well, maybe that just has to do with the particular list that we got. So then I talked to other people that wrote other lists and said, you know, we came to a negative number also. Well, make a long story short, it turned out that everybody going through these lists, it was a very sophisticated situation with complex computers and big screens and all that kind of stuff. It finally came down to the fact that the problem was there's so many areas to handle, and there was no way to handle them all at the same time. And so the final result was, therefore, the leader said, we're going to recommend that we don't go forward with this. And so those of us who were participating in this were pretty disappointed, thinking, we started thinking that, this would be a good thing to do.
Dr. Puthoff has spent more than half his life investigating this issue and related issues. He went into that meeting with the idea that, oh, good, we're going to look at the pros and cons, and we're going to come out of this, and we're going to have a policy for disclosure. And when they got done with it, they realized that's not how they felt after really looking into all the issues. I don't know what all those issues were, but I do know who organized that hearing because it's come out since we started working on this, and it was the National Security Council. They had called together these big brainiacs, many of whom had worked in secure national security programs, and put them in a room and gave them all kinds of information, and they came out and said, no, it's probably not a good idea to do it, at least not right now, not all at once. And what do you announce? If you don't know what it is, and you don't exactly know what the effects of disclosing it would be. If it's just ETs visiting from other planets, we've kind of been conditioned, movies, TV, and things like that, to deal with it. Okay, flying saucers, they've crashed and we've got them and we don't really know where they are, but the questions are not going to stop there. And the answer may not be flying saucers from other planets. It could be way more complicated than that. We can get into some examples a little bit later, but they went into that meeting under the National Security Council, which is an interesting tidbit for you to remember based on further conversations we're going to have that Jeremy's going to reveal. But it looked like they were ready to go, and then they decided against it. And that's just saying flying saucers that crashed. It's not all the other weird stuff that comes with this topic. If you're familiar with Skinwalker Ranch, you know how weird things can get, and we don't understand the physics of it, why this other really strange stuff, monsters, ghosts, and crop circles, and cattle mutilations, how they all fit into this picture. But if you were to tell people, okay, the fact is these are interdimensional beings, they can come into our world anytime, and they see everything you do. They're like Santa Claus. They'd see you when you're sleeping, they know when you're awake. They see you in the shower, in bed, when you're eating, working. I think some people would freak out about that. Or it's multiple non-human intelligences. Maybe it's AI that spreads through the cosmos one planet at a time by helping the evolution of some inferior species. Maybe it's all simulation, and any day now they might turn the button off and we go away. There are aliens among us, hybrids maybe. There are a lot of really weird aspects to this that people are going to want to know once you say we've got crashed flying saucers, that might be really upsetting to a whole bunch of people. So until we get past the point about the technology, who's got it and who can master it first, I'm not holding my breath waiting for disclosure, but my friend Jeremy might have different ideas about that.
But I love the smell of napalm in the morning. Go, go, UFO. Okay. I think we've made incredible progress. I think that it's a process of us being loud as possible. That's right. Start with you. I really see it differently. I understand the problems, but I'm an absolutist. Nobody has the right. I never asked for somebody to be my daddy. I never asked for somebody to not tell me the fundamental nature of reality. In fact, if it is true that science and technology are being held back, I think it's a crime against humanity. I feel that way for real. So my position is more disclosure. Let's figure it out. So I want to show you a few highlights, some things, some progress that we've made in pushing the envelope and trying to get people to admit from the inside what they know and tell you. So we've been using Weaponized to do that. And we have a friend, Dr. Colin Kelleher. I love him. I'd love to put him in a trunk of a car and strangle him and find out everything he knows. But he's a friend, and I can't do that, apparently, legally or as a human being. So with that said, let me just show you one thing that he did say. And this is a guy in position to know. He ran as the project manager, the AWSAP program, Advanced Aerospace Weapons System Applications program for the Defense Intelligence Agency, focused on UFOs. What did he say?
Eventually coughed it up.
Does our government have downed UFOs from unknown origin that they've been trying and are trying to reverse engineer and exploit those technologies to understand the physics and understand that technology? Do we have that to work with?
I can't talk about that, but the answer is yes.
You don't know how long that took to get Dr. Kelleher to just say that on camera to the American public. And he said it, and he said it on Weaponized. And I'm grateful he did, because he is telling you like it is. What did he just say? He said yes. He's not the only one. Turns out on our show, if we put people in a corner and we start harassing them, that even the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency program on UFOs, Dr. James Lakatsky, George's friend, will also tell you something. And here's another win for us. Is you're officially allowed to tell us that the United States government has in its possession a craft of unknown origin, and you are able to access the inside. Is that correct?
The wording that you read is correct. You're going beyond the wording.
No, I'm not. I'm asking you, did that meeting happen? And is it true? And it's true.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so you're telling us, you told us, because you were allowed to tell us, that our government has a UFO in its possession and has been able to access the inside of it, right?
Yes.
Well,
it's delicate. It makes the
why is it delicate?
I've described in here look primitive.
Why is it delicate? Why is this topic that the United States government has a UFO in its possession and we've been reverse engineering it? You've admitted it. Why is it delicate?
The details. I'm old school. I won't use the term adversary, competitor, as the way we describe. We are surrounded, maybe not surrounded, but hopefully not so, by our enemies. And our enemies, you can be sure they're listening to this show right now.
Well, we hope we've got a lot of Russian and Chinese listeners out there, don't we? Dr. Lakatsky is a friend of mine. He has pushed the ball pretty far down the field. We co-wrote a book called Skinwalkers at the Pentagon that was a follow-up to the Skinwalker Ranch investigation. DIA read that book. They thought, something weird is going on there. And they got the help of Harry Reid, got $22 million, gave a contract to Bigelow, and they did some amazing things in the 27 months that program was in existence. They created the world's largest UFO database, 260,000 cases overseen by Dr. Vallée, and they wrote a whole bunch of papers that are filled with really great information, not one page of which has been released by DIA. And Dr. Lukatsky, it took us 14 months to get the approval of the DOD DOPSR process to publish that first book, and then almost as long to do the second book, in which he very carefully admitted what he just said there after Jeremy pulled a few of his teeth out, that yeah, we have a craft, and yeah, we got into it, and that's all he would say. He's a stickler for the rules, and he doesn't want to get in trouble, and that was as far as he was allowed to go by the Pentagon. And he does believe that revealing too much information to the public means, as we said before about that line of you can't tell your friends without telling your enemies, that our enemies, our adversaries, would be very interested in that information. That is the guy he is. So it was hard to get him to say that, even though we're all friends, but that's the way he sees it.
Okay, so you realize that I think we've had some wins, right? But I want you to make me feel a little better. This is what I feel like every damn day. Have you seen the movie Don't Look Up? This is what it's like to work with George Knapp. I have constant anxiety. I know too much. Why can't we say this out loud? Why can't we say the quiet part out loud? It's just like a funny reality to think that I was just trying to figure out if Bob Lazar was telling the truth or telling a lie. Just wanted to know. And then here we are now, and I know people want to tell the truth, but can they tell the truth? So this is kind of where we're at. We're trying to use Weaponized. I think we both agreed we're gonna do this show, but it's to put our best foot forward, to get out as much information as possible, to make it all public, to throw it all in, and that's what we're really trying to do with Weaponized. So, I think we've had some wins, and I wanna see if you concur. I want to go through super fast. Let's go through some of those wins. First time public seeing some UFO footage confirmed by the government. You saw this, the Tic Tac UFO case. Everybody aware of this, right? Right, so Commander Fravor was here right after he went public. I kept it secret for a long time. This is a legitimate case with Commander Underwood as well. Powerful. You guys all know the footage. It's the first time the American public is seeing a UAP designated by our government and our military, and you've seen it. You've seen it over and over and over, and then you saw the gimbal. And you saw the gimbal UAP. And then you saw the footage of the gimbal. And anybody with a brain who trusts what they see with their own eyes will understand this is something of importance, no matter what anybody says. So then George Knapp starts dropping stuff, and boom, he starts getting photographs from pilots from 2015. At the time, this was called metallic blimp with payload. Payload is important, but like he starts dropping stuff because guess what? Pilots in the air start texting him photos. We're seeing them every day. That's what they said. We're seeing, here's the acorn. We're seeing them every day. No one believed George when he was saying that. No one believed him. But then they come out and start telling it's true. Well, the best evidence for a journalist, the best evidence is corroborative multi-platform evidence. So what that means, very simply, is when you have one object and you have different types of sensors on that object. So you might have infrared, you might have heat signatures or thermal, you might have sailors reaching up and filming out through a PVS 14 night vision monocular, as an example, if you want to know an example. You might have deck footage. So all of a sudden, George Knapp and I released this to the public. I don't know if people understood how hard it is to get this stuff out to the public. It's contained within a classified briefing, but it's not inherently classified. So luckily, as journalists, we can protect sources. Sources come to us and we make sure it's real and we put it out. So this was a slide. This was created by the UAPTF. People are talking about, oh, okay, you know, what's the shape of it? They had range finders on the back of the USS Russell. Some friends of mine, we've interviewed numerous people that have been on these ships. Then you saw this one. I mean, these are big wins. Each slide, each image for the public Everybody that had the courage to come to me and George, I thank you so much, because that's the only way to get this stuff out. Then you remember this footage. You are not supposed to see this footage, but it's cool, and it's amazing, and it's real, and it's true, and these ships were being followed by UAP. Friends of mine and George and I have spoken with so many people involved with these cases that were on the ships, not internet warriors, people on the ships. Then you remember this. This is the first time you see in thermal, it's black and white, it's not grainy, it's a weapons platform, and this is pitch black at night. If you had an iPhone, you'd capture nothing. So the fact we see this going into the water, the fact that we're able to talk to everybody in that center at the time, in the command center of that ship, oh my gosh, this was neat to put out. This is all the same series of events, multi-platform evidence. It's like having like a bunch of cameras that are better than cameras, all capturing the same thing. Not only that, but we obtained radar of the same event, radar footage of the same UFO event. I mean, this is cool. This is, to me, this is really cool. Next up, and I didn't love the look of this footage, but why this is important, deck footage. Yeah, whatever, lights, inky darkness. Why this is important? Same event. Somebody on the ships, and guess what? You can't say it's a balloon anymore, it's self-luminous. So this little piece of evidence was so important, but misunderstood. It's corroborative visual evidence. But look, we're just getting warmed up, because the better part is direct eyewitnesses, right? Can we get people to come forward who are direct eyewitnesses? Well, you know, look, I've got a lot of friends that are in the military that are willing to take the hit and say, I'm interested in UFOs. It's like if you and me were both interested in chess. Can't we talk about that on CNN? Can't we talk about that? This super handsome guy is going to tell you about some witnesses right now.
It's funny to hear them talk about it. It's almost like they, as this object or light or whatever it was kind of flying around the ship, the sailors on the deck are following it, right? So first they're on the aft end of the ship, and the object moves forward, so they move forward, right? So now they're on the port forward side of the ship, and it's just floating there, right? A couple hundred feet in the air. Then it moves to the starboard side, right across, and they scurry across the ship, and they're kind of, you know, going through wherever they need to go to get to the other side and maintain eyes on it, because they're just shocked at what they're seeing. And then probably the most dramatic part of the event was once it moved to the starboard side of the ship, it just shot straight up into the air. And the word that the sailor that we spoke with used was it zoomed straight up in the air. And when you ask them, you know, did you hear anything? You know, did you see anything in terms of, like, you know, again, like exhaust or something like that, you know, or a song, or right? Did you hear it? Right, exactly. And of course, the answer is no. You know.
It's a big deal to have an active duty Navy commander to come on your podcast. I mean, he's kind of putting his career at risk. Say, hey, Guts.
Yeah, so I want to be very clear. So Commander Gutierrez is a good friend of mine for many, many, many years. We actually bonded over the Bob Lazar story at a UFO conference many years ago. He's never been a source. He's been a thinker of this. And he said, even as an active Navy commander, it's like if we're both interested in chess, I want to talk to you about it. We're being told we can talk about it. We should talk about it. It's so cool, though, because you never know what the repercussions are going to be on family, on friends, just in the office. So I really want to say he broke the mold. But as you can see from our recent episodes, other people have followed. So giving people courage by doing something means that other people can come in your steps. So I just want to give you a few more highlights real quick. We're going to blast through. I don't know if people understand. George and I were able to obtain and show you full motion video, an image, because I challenged Arrow to put it out. But this is like if you're at night, you get full color. This is from a CIA plane. This is a designated UAP by the United States government. No matter what you hear on the internet, it's wrong. This is directly from those files. And it's the first time you've ever seen full motion video, which is a term for this type of data collection. Powerful. I'm glad we could get it out. This one embarrassed me. I had to put this out. I call it the Cookie Monster. However, or Kermit the Frog. However, why this is important, it's the first time you ever see an image of an object, a UAP, designated UAP, that was shot at by the United States military. Confirmed. There's actually an article in the BBC, if you look it up. They lied a little bit, but it was about this event. Hint. Then you saw this. Odd propulsion system. Now, I'm not saying these are alien invaders from Martians. I don't even know. But what I'm saying is that this is designated UAP within the classified servers, and a lot of people have confirmed to me years ago when it was leaked to us, we had to do our due diligence, and a lot of people had seen it, and absolutely, this is a UAP. I don't know what type of propulsion system that is, and we can go into that, but it's from a video, and I hope the video comes out. We've challenged Arrow to put out the video to you. Then this one, hot debate. I have a ton of Marines that were at this location who, to this day, while it was happening, they contacted George, they contacted me, and they said, we are part of these war games. This is not part of these war games. There is an object in the sky, and we are flipping out and freaking out, and we are filming it. So UAP, not UAP, I don't know. But what I do know is people have courage to reach out to us while on active duty at a base while events are happening. I knew before their commanding officer knew. Wow, wow, guy. So that was encouraging. Baghdad Phantom, here's another one. First time in history you've seen footage like this, designated UAP moving across the screen, really weird looking, cylindrical. I don't know, what is it? It's not a missile, it would have heat. Then, just look at this. 2015, you all know the one on the left, right? Did you know George and I obtained and released something from 2008 from a Marine who was working off an armored carrier and just had the courage to reach out to us after, and we had to vet the information. But you can watch the video. I mean, look at the shape. So people are coming forward, and I'm really grateful that people are coming forward because they know that this ain't right, and they know that they have protections coming to journalists, and I hope people keep coming, but that's on their own volition. I cannot solicit any information from anybody legally. Okay. Then you saw the jellyfish UAP. Now there's some tricky ass games being played on this by your government, and I have been direct witness to this. People that have come to me that are not public are being contacted. They're trying to be accused of being sources. Then they're trying to be flipped on me and George to do counter intel. That's fact. And I have recordings and screenshots and the names of the people that are doing it. Let's fuck people up. Oh, my first F-bomb, sorry. Anyway, my point is, this type of data and information, we have seen so much come into the public realm that was never available to us before. Of course, George and I have to vet it. We have to make sure to do no harm for national security. But this topic is so important, we're going to do our damnedest to get you more. And I'm not done yet, but I want George to tell you a little bit about an organization called Arrow, because it's not what it appears to be, and I think you damn right deserve to know.
We were in Huntsville, Alabama. We'd gone down there. There was a conference organized by SCU, an organization was looking into UFO-related matters, and we were not there for the conference. We were there to track down some people that we wanted to get on camera, and we succeeded in that. And while we were there, I was sitting at a bar, Jeremy shooting video of me, as he sneakily does sometimes, and this guy comes up and introduces himself, and his name was Dave Grush. And we started a conversation, and Jeremy and Dave have become really good friends, and you know, boy, talk about balls. That guy had some courage for stepping up, appearing before Congress, all the crap that he's had to deal with since then, you know, being slimed, medical records being released, scurrilous information from his personal life that's meant to hurt him. You'll probably be able to talk to Lou Elizondo tomorrow, and you can ask him how much fun it is to be sort of a whistleblower and a witness and to step forward and share what people know. Same thing with us. We don't get it quite as much as they do, but man, if you think being on the UFO circuit and investigating this stuff and putting out your findings is fun, try going on X sometime. You know, it's you got to ignore it and move on. Arrow. So while we're in Huntsville, we hear the name mentioned of who's going to be in charge of it, and everybody who knows that person went, oh boy, Sean Kirkpatrick. you know, I guess we had to give him the benefit of the doubt, but it didn't take very long to see what he was made of. I mean, we saw this ridiculous hearing that happened in front of Congress, the first hearing in more than 50 years to go into UFO matters. A couple of Navy guys show up and they just belittled the whole thing. They didn't seem to have spent 5 minutes studying files or everything. And then they subsequently in hearings, they would put out videos that seemed to be what we had put out. It was almost like a response, sort of looked like the Mosul orb, sort of looked like the Green Pyramids, and then debunked them. And that would, in effect, debunk our stuff. We have seen Arrow step forward, ask for witnesses and whistleblowers to come forward, give us your good stuff, where are the flying saucers hidden, and people stepped up and did that, gave them information, and they were just dumped on. They didn't take them seriously. I think they probably did follow up. They wanted to figure out who knows what and how can we shut them up. They had them sign forms that they weren't supposed to talk about it anymore. They effectively muzzled all those guys who thought they were doing their patriotic duty. You know, we've seen things that Sean Kirkpatrick, they put out this report. It was supposed to be the first of many, and it was riddled with errors, typos, spelling errors. They had wrong dates for pretty famous UFO cases. It was preposterous. They had rushed it to get it out while Sean Kirkpatrick, before he left the job to take something even cushier. And I don't know if he went into this thinking, this will be really easy, I'll earn a lot of brownie points with higher ups in the Department of Defense, and then I'll get something even better and waltz on down the road into retirement. But it was not fun for him. And it became very clear just how thin-skinned the guy was. He goes on Instagram, is it? And X, LinkedIn, and just eviscerates people who had questioned him. It was amazing that a public official like that would come out and reveal that he was so thin-skinned that would respond in really childish sort of ways. You know, I don't know what's going to happen with Arrow. We were told after Kirkpatrick left, and he still gave interviews for months and months, spinning it. And he had allies in social media circles who would give him ideas on how to debunk a particular case, and then suddenly he's repeating it and taking their word for it. He didn't say seagulls, though, did he? No, he didn't say seagulls. You know, even months after he was gone, he's still doing every interview he can with friendly media to spin it and dump on it and discredit it and the witnesses who come forward. And then, you know, there was a replacement that we were told, hey, this is a pretty good guy, maybe he'll be better. He wasn't. And then there's a third guy who's there now. What, Tim Phillips? Yeah. There's a third guy who's there now. Again, some people we know who know him really well. I think he's been amazingly candid with the public in saying, basically, his hands are tied. He admitted it on camera. I mean, just look at this preposterous situation that a tiny little office in this gigantic Department of Defense is going to investigate its parent organization and get to the bottom of all these lies and stolen tens of millions of national security dollars. It's ridiculous. And he basically has said, look, I'm not going to be able to release the things that you all want to see. He even came out with a statement the other day, in effect, we're not going to tell you when we've got something that's solved. We're not going to tell you when it's something that's unsolved. They put out a release about the jellyfish, debunking our jellyfish thing. It's a bunch of balloons. 5 minutes after our episode begins. We begin them at high noon on Tuesdays. 5 minutes after noon on Tuesday, they drop this report, almost like counter-programming so that people wouldn't pay attention. I hope the new guy works out, but again, he's shackled. How much can he really do to get to the bottom of the truth when he's a tiny organization and a gigantic, hugely powerful industry and organization? If you're hoping Arrow is going to get to the bottom of it, you're in for a long wait.
So again, George does not think disclosure is going to happen at all.
Not through Arrow, anyway.
Not through Arrow. I am more optimistic. I am optimistic because of the daily phone calls that I get and the people I speak with. There are more witnesses. There are more people coming forward. We have actually filmed with whistleblowers and witnesses who will be coming forward. It is kind of comical the way, if you watch the way that we'll put out something and how Arrow has a knee-jerk reaction to try to show something similar, but that they can debunk. And the kind of height of that publicly was the last time when they released the Jellyfish UAP, right when we're dropping Matthew Brown, the Patriots, whistleblower testimony. Within 3 minutes, they dropped that. And it's utter fucking bullshit what they wrote. And I can't wait to see their report and tear it apart. The point is that there's a pattern here. And we should become aware of that pattern, because I'm sick of nonsense. And it's nonsense what they're doing. And I don't care if there are good people in that organization. You should reject your position, and you should decline it publicly based upon dissidence. I don't know how you say it, but you should step out of that position. You have people who represent the head of that organization who are asking for public trust and whistleblowers to come forward. Yet when David Grush comes out, they write these things on LinkedIn. Who's even on LinkedIn? Are you on LinkedIn? Anyway, they write things on LinkedIn disparaging whistleblowers without any investigation. I mean, knee-jerk reaction. They did it to David Grush. They did it to Matthew Brown. And I just, that pattern's got to stop. So I want to tell you real quick, flashbang again, a few highlights, what I think, why we're getting closer, why each step matters. You remember this, the 2023 Tic Tac UAP, we just released it. By the way, new footage from inside a vessel that shows FLIR footage of what they call the Tic Tac, and we have witness testimony. Just want to play you a clip real quick.
Well, it's springtime, when hope springs eternal, when love is in the air, birds and bees are coming out, and when UFO videos filmed by the military suddenly blossom. These guys in the U.S. Navy who are out there off the coast of Southern California are seeing these things all the time.
We're going to release something new today that shows that this activity is ongoing. This is from 2023 off of USS Jackson. This is new footage the world hasn't seen. And it shows, what is one of apparently 4 Tic Tac shaped UAP. All the craft were observed in an apparent coordinated, synchronized, instantaneous departure, indicative of shared communication. This is really nailed home to me by the service members.
This thing was coming up, and I wasn't shocked that I was seeing it. I was shocked I was sharing the experience.
So we not only got footage, but we had a witness come forward who agreed to appear on camera. And we interviewed him for Weaponized, and then I turned it into a story on KLES.
Yeah, and I just want to say how important this is. So it's really nice to get footage from a ship, but it takes courage and guts to bring people forward who are actually witness to it, right? So not sources, witnesses. So if you just look at this real quick, this is the Tic Tac from 2023 versus the Tic Tac from 2004. So on the right is Commander Underwood shot that. Commander Fravor chased the UFO for the United States military. But look on the left. This was so cool to see this comparison. Commander Underwood and Commander Fravor were like, damn, camera's getting better. So you get a little bit higher resolution, but look, there are objects of unknown origin that are doing things, and we got the guy who actually, one of the guys high command in the ship, was able to come forward, and his name is Alex, but George did a nice little news piece, so I want to show you a portion of that.
This is the famed Tic Tac object that was pursued by the Navy's best aviators off the coast of Southern California back in 2004. And this is the thermal image of 2 strikingly similar objects documented by the crew of the USS Jackson in February 2023 in the very same waters. The original Tic Tac proved to be one of the most consequential UFO incidents of all time.
I am Operations Specialist Senior Chief Alexandra Wiggins. Been in the Navy for 23 years and counting.
When Alexandra Wiggins heard that a video from the USS Jackson's encounter with unknown objects was circulating, he reached out to the former admiral and was then put in touch with filmmaker Jeremy Corbell, who first released the new Tic Tac video on the podcast Weaponized. In February 2023, Wiggins was a senior chief and radar specialist on the Jackson and air traffic controller for the Navy. His main job was to identify what might be in the air near the ship. He and others in the Jackson's Combat Information Center saw curious objects on their screens. Wiggins wanted to get eyes on whatever it was and went out to take a look.
And to my surprise, which is something I've never witnessed, was a light I noticed on the horizon, but it looked as if it were surfacing out of the water.
He says he jammed back to the combat center and took a closer look on the Sapphire system, which is a thermal sensor, not a camera. The sensor detected not just 1, but 2 Tic Tac shaped objects. Neither showed any hint of an exhaust system or any known propulsion system.
We only saw the one, and then we see the second one. It was only when we zoom out we realize, holy crap, there's 2 more out here, a total of 4. And all of a sudden, you just see all 4 of them take off to the northeast all at the same time, just out of nowhere. And if I had to talk speed, it would say like maybe 2 steps behind instantaneous.
It was kind of cool to see that the Tic Tac hasn't changed that much. You know, you get a classic design, you don't want to add tail fins to it. It's kind of like Ray-Ban Wayfarers. It's good enough just as it is.
I was stoked to have Alexandra Wiggins to come forward. He found out that I obtained some video footage, and he was there. So it took courage because, I mean, I think he's 23 years in the Navy. So it took courage for him saying, and look, he's got a family, he's got kids. He tried to give this testimony to Congress, and nobody really took a hold of it. So when he heard that I had obtained footage of his incident, he stepped right up. And I'm really grateful to him because I don't know what the penalties are, people just socially even coming after you. So that's a very brave man to me, and I'm really grateful as a witness that he came forward. But there's a difference between witnesses and whistleblowers. Did you know the main difference, basically? So whistleblowers are people that find things that are wrong, like they find things that are unjust, they find things that are illegal, and they step forward and they say, this has been going on. There's probably a definition if you look it up on Siri or something, but you know, a whistleblower is a little bit different. So whistleblowers take a huge risk. Like they throw away, like David Grush did. You know, you throw away promotions you're gonna get, which would give you a better yearly salary when you go out of military. It's a big deal. And so this was a really great moment. And again, I'm being Mr. Positive here. I'm telling you, no matter what George Knapp thinks, we're making headway on our own show. Okay, so let's see if we get there. So this was a big moment. This was cool. It's the first time the weird word of biologics was thrown out into the public, right? David Grush is telling you how it is. We knew David way before he was public. He came to George Knapp first at that bar he was talking about, and he was nervous. He was nervous to come forward. But in David Grush's wake, there are others who are coming forward, and we have already filmed with them. And one of them we will be able to bring to you for the last 3 weeks. You guys know about Matthew Brown? Yeah. Yeah, he's a real whistleblower because he is telling you about things that are illegal, even to Congress, and he came forward. And we did not know the repercussions for him. We still don't exactly know. He walked that line really close if you watch the interviews. And look, if you haven't watched all 3 interviews, you have not heard the story. You should watch it. But I'm gonna play you one little clip of something that Matthew Brown, patriot, whistleblower, who we should protect, this is what he said.
This is exactly what you did not want to do.
Correct. Have you gamed it out in your head what happens next? What will likely be, assuming we go forward with this interview and make it public, and that right now we don't know that that's the case, but when it comes out, if it comes out, what happens to you then? What are the risks?
Well, gaming it out, there's more than me. More will come. I could say more if I wanted to. Hopefully this rises to a level of public attention that demands it be addressed in a serious way. I can't cause that alone. Other people will, but more need to come. And I think at this point, I'd like to say directly to the members of our military and our intelligence community, the time is now where you must choose whether you honor your oath or your orders. And if you have courage, you already know the answer. But for the rest of you, lead, follower, get out of the way. Get out of the way.
Took courage. I mean, you can tell the guy's smart. You can also tell he's scared. He doesn't know where that was going to go. It took us a long time to get him to go on camera, and then it took longer. Jeremy and our editor, Michael, going over every single word and every single sentence because we didn't want to compound things and get him in trouble. You know, because, you know, there are risks, legal risks. Those 3 episodes really reverberated, and in some places where people are pretty upset. The goal of that last statement, of course, was to encourage other people to come forward, and I can tell you, we can tell you right now, that is happening. If there is a silver lining, that is happening. There are more things coming. Those 3 episodes, by the way, we entered this podcast stuff not knowing much about podcasts, so they put us in the science category across all these platforms, and they rank these episodes. So we have the #1 science podcast in the United States. I could see Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's no friend of the UFO topic, is #6 on that list. Thinking he's looking up and going, what the hell? Who are those guys? Anyway, it's very satisfying.
So yeah, look, we only got a couple little things for you here at the end, but like an army awaits. I wrote that today and I was thinking about it. That's fact. That's fact. We've already recorded with whistleblowers who will be coming forward. They're going to risk it all for you, for us, to know the truth. They're very cautious. They're patriots, so they're cautious, and they know that you can't tell your friends something without telling your enemies. So we really walk this line as journalists to make sure that when we're handling sensitive materials, that we handle it with sensitivity. But when somebody has something to say, and they're coming forward to tell you at their own risk, we should at least give them the benefit of the doubt to listen to everything they say. And I am excited for the future of what you all call disclosure. I don't know what that means. I feel like we all know the truth, or part of the truth. I mean, I don't know the whole thing, but we are making progress. The second you stop and say, it's never gonna happen, you might be right. You might be right, but at the same time, I think we have to reflect on how far we've come. Go back to 2017 and try having that weird dinner with your friends because you're the crazy uncle or aunt talking about UFOs. It's totally different now. So I really want you to give encouragement to the people that have come forward as witnesses or as whistleblowers, and be loud about it. Encourage them to continue doing what they're doing, because ultimately we're going to get closer to the truth tomorrow than we are today. And that's the hope. Look, it's a ride, it's a journey. I don't really care where we're going. I just want to learn more tomorrow, and it's really fun to roll with this guy. He's a wild man, and I got a golf cart, so it's going to get weird. But I do want to bring you back to something, and I want to bring you back to how this started, and for me too, but really for George and for many of you. Reality is not what it used to be. I get that part. We are in a different world right now. But you've been told a long time ago. So I want to play you a clip real quick and have George talk to you about it. The OG.
I know there are alien craft here from another planet. I saw other ones, but I was inside one. I know it was not made on Earth. I know it was made with materials that we cannot fabricate, we cannot duplicate, and we've never been able to. I know it uses a power source that's so advanced that we could only dream of something along those lines, and the energy density on it is phenomenal. It's nothing that I would ever expect to see. I also know that at some point they've examined or had bodies of alien creatures somewhere. So I know that stuff for a fact. And that's the bottom line.
I know that people have different opinions about Bob. It doesn't really matter at this point, because the effects of him coming forward, talk about a whistleblower who knows what the costs are. Bob's, he's been through the ringer. They've had armies of people investigating every girlfriend he ever had, every loan he ever had, every business he had, any stupid decision he may have made. We're all humans. We make bad choices sometimes. I recall the first story where we showed his identity. I told the public about the problems in his story, why there were gaps in our knowledge, how the schools that he said he went to didn't have those records, the places that he worked said he is never there. That was in the first report. That was the first news story. It wasn't something that somebody played gotcha and discovered years later. First day. And because of that story, coming out, the first person I told outside of our newsroom was Harry Reid. I had covered his campaigns for the House, and I was sort of a known commodity in the community at the time, and I just had a feeling as we started working on the Lazar investigation 51 that Reid was big in the defense industry, he had been a big champion of Nellis Air Force Base. I figured he'd want to know, so he said, yeah, let's take a ride. I'm going to the airport to fly back to DC, spill it. And so I told him what I was working on, and he goes, okay, I'm interested in that, keep me in the loop. And I did for the next 30 years until the day he died. And we formed a secret alliance, a conversation that we had behind the scenes. At the time, he didn't want to be a UFO senator. He was in his first term in office there in the Senate, and it's not a good thing for politicians, at least back then, but he became an ally. So the second person I met because of that story was Robert Bigelow. And he called as soon as the series was over. He said, hey, I'm interested in that. Can I help you some way? Can I meet that guy? He hired some private investigators, tracked Lazar down, and they became friends, and we started having beers and talking UFO stuff. We took a trip up to the Alien and had fun out in the desert looking for whatever might be flying around out there. And then Bigelow created something called NIDS. And I was lucky to be the speaker at their first Science Advisory Board meeting. I walk in this room, and there's Edgar Mitchell, the sixth man to walk on the moon. There's U.S. Senator Harrison Schmitt, the last man to walk on the moon. There's Dr. Jacques Vallée, Kit Green, Hal Puthoff, an amazing group of big brain people who were there on that organization to learn and study and try to move the ball down the field. And as soon as I saw the group, I thought, I need to tell Harry Reid about this, because I knew he'd want to check it out, and he did. I told him about it. He said, can I get an invitation? I said, well, let me see what I can do here. It's pretty hard. And then he had to develop that friendship with Bigelow. He was interested in the topic. He went on the air in a live newscast and said, yeah, I'm interested in it, and maybe it's worthy of having Senate hearings about it. And he became the champion for what later became OSAP. He got the $22 million, funded the largest known government-approved UFO investigation in history. If it had been allowed to continue, who knows where we'd be now. They did amazing work. And again, most of what they did, there's no reason that you can't see it. It should not be hidden away somewhere. There's nothing in there you can't handle, and I've seen all of it. It is not classified. But as recently as a week ago, when the DIA got a FOIA request, they said, we don't have it, we can't find it. So Bob Lazar's story, whether you believe it or not, had long-range implications for this topic and helped move the ball down the field, and you can believe that he made it all up. I don't care. Doesn't matter. But his testimony coming forward changed the world and changed this topic forever. And while I do not think that the government is ever going to disclose this stuff or come out and make a statement, I do believe that disclosure is possible from the outside. That's what we're doing every day. I wouldn't be doing this after 40 years or almost 40 years if I didn't think that we could make progress. It might be chipping away one piece at a time, one witness at a time, one video at a time, one document at a time, but it's worthwhile. It's important. Anyway, so
I'm going to say one thing, and then you'll set it up. And I took notes in my hand just now because I thought this was important. So I don't know if you're aware, a lot of people haven't watched this Tubi special that I did called UFO Revolution. Have you seen it? Oh, shoot. Okay, good. So that third episode was about Congress, and people don't understand yet, but you will. You understand the Immaculate Constellation. I brought that months before. I brought the guy in. We snuck him in. We tried to get him to testify. Man, I just want to say I am working my ass off to get Congress the ammunition that they need to disclose to you in public hearings, and it is an uphill battle, but I am fighting for that with a bunch of people, and that is my focus. My focus is to get people right there under oath in front of you in open congressional hearings, not in these backdoor bullshit hearings, open hearings. I need all the support I can get to make that happen. They tap us for information, and then they do counter intel on us and bring national security people in. Can I have my lawyer? No. Can I record the call? No. I record every time. I'm just trying to tell you that is part of the fight. Part of the fight is getting Congress to do what you asked them to do. And I am trying to make that happen. And if it doesn't happen, easy way, hard way, we're going to do it our way. And that's for sure. So I want you to get educated on that. I just want you to get educated on that because, man, this is fun, but it's important, and there's real battles being fought, and I need your help. Everybody to be loud about it on whatever social media where they like to mock me, like that one. Try to be loud about it. Now, George has something very special for you, an ending thought that was just so beautiful, and I want him to show you before we end.
So what would disclosure look like? What would an announcement include? It's just ETs or interdimensionals or time travelers or crypto-terrestrials or something more exotic. If you're going to disclose, you got to disclose all of it. And someone has actually written what my version of disclosure would sound like, and Jeremy's, I think, as well. It was in a show called Twin Peaks, and here it is.
All right, this is a few minutes. Check this out. It's badass.
Portions of the government we both served with pride have failed us. They have lied, withheld secrets, acted in their own selfish interests at the expense of their citizens. And don't believe anyone who tells you this all began in Roswell in '47. I'm convinced now that whatever I've glimpsed or encountered and spent my life tracking has been with us since humankind came down out of the trees. It is not something out there, in the president's words. They may well have once been our neighbors from some distant star, but I believe they were here before us. I believe that were we able to look deeply at the whole of human history, we would see that they have always been here. I believe they have observed, helped, haunted, tormented, and teased us since the beginning of time for reasons entirely their own. I believe that they are a multitude, and that their true nature is singular and energetic, not physical, evolved in some way light years beyond our ability to understand, and as a consequence, our limited, linear sense of time means nothing to them. A few of us were chosen for some strange purpose to learn more about them, or perhaps for other reasons. I believe their presence fills more than the skies or these woods. They lie at the root cause of every extra-normal or paranormal experience our species has recorded. Religious, spiritual, scientific, ghostly, inspirational, angelic, and demonic. From the burning bush to Fatima and Lourdes, to vampires and sky people, monsters and abductions in the night, and Roswell and Homestead and all those strange lights and crafts seen for millennia by so many of us in so many skies. I believe all these phenomena that our puffed up egos and busy ant minds persist in trying to label, categorize, penetrate, and comprehend all spring from this same uncanny source. This is the mother of all others. And were we ever able to set our eyes on its ultimate nature, we would find it as foreign, incomprehensible, and indifferent to us as ours would be to bacterial microbes swimming in a drop of water. These final truths you must never forget. We are utterly incapable of knowing their true intent, and their true intent may not be to wish us well. It may be that they're here to guide or even aid our evolution. It's equally possible we may matter no more to them than those random protozoa in our tap water do to us. In other words, by our meager moral definitions, they may be both good and evil. And those precious distinctions of ours mean nothing to them. There may be even a good and evil side at play here. And we, our human race, is the game. Let me hasten to add, I hope I'm wrong, that this work, being chosen, has deranged me. But Garland, I fear that I am right, and in my right mind. The owls may indeed not be what they seem, but still serve an imperative function. They remind us to look into the darkness,
Now, yeah. You want disclosure? Got to disclose it all. And it'd go something like that, I think. And I'd buy a ticket there, and I'd be in the front row for that day. Not hold my breath, though.
Man, this is so much fun. Thank you so much for being with us here. I love meeting all of you, and we're going to have just like 10 minutes of Q&A because I like to hear what you're thinking. So I don't know who's organizing this, but like in an organized fashion, maybe. Let's just do that. Is it just hands raised, motherfuckers? Okay, we're doing it that way. All right, here we go. What's up, dude? I'm surprised you didn't plug the upcoming Bob Lazar documentary. Comment by my friend in the thing. Yeah, Bob's a good friend, and I know there's a new documentary. George was interviewed for it at length. It's covering his life and times and what he experienced during that. I am excited to watch it as a viewer myself. I've got to see little parts of it. So all of you, I think our friend is trying to tell you, Bob Lazar, you're going to learn more about him. The documentary I made was a miracle, but now that he's out, this is going to be really exciting, and I can't wait to see what our friend Bob Lazar has to say, right?
Yeah, we've seen glimpses of it, the technology that they've used to recreate S4 inside the hangar and the saucers, and it's pretty amazing. I don't know when it's going to be out. They've said this summer, but I think probably they've got a few hiccups to get over.
We're not making it.
So if you have a question, actually, you can come up to the mic here. There's another one there. And
how organized?
Take
Where?
turns
Okay.
over here. Please make sure you just ask one question and make it brief because we want to get to as many people as we can.
Tell us your stories later. Ask the questions now. We're going to do this for 10 minutes max. But yeah, we're not making that movie, but as a friend and a fan of the topic.
Can't wait to see it.
Yeah, man.
Hi.
Okay, where's the mic?
Right here.
In the back.
Raise your hand so I can see you in my eyeballs. There we go. What's up, brother?
Okay. One link in this disclosure project seems to be the UAP caucus in the House of Representatives.
Right. Luna, Burchett, Burleson, etc. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And Tim Burchett seems okay. There's more Republicans than Democrats. But then people like Nancy Mace and Andy Bogles, what are these people doing on this committee, and how are these people chosen by whom to be in that position?
Yeah, look, don't know, don't care. Really glad there's a UAP caucus. I am trying to fucking help them drive the goddamn ship. They are learning as you're learning, but obviously they're tapping good people to try to get more information out in public hearings to you of people with something to say. So I don't know. I'm not a politic person. You saw that bullshit with Nancy Mace. I'm not a politic person, but what I do know is we're going to fight to get the right people testifying publicly to you, or they have failed, because I'm going to try to help. Next question, let's go.
I think for the most part, by the way,
George, you have something?
About the members of the House committee, I think for the most part, the people who are on it are people who are interested in the subject. Burchett, Luna, those people actually have an interest in it. We saw the 2023 hearing with Grush. It was an amazing thing. There's AOC and Jamie Raskin literally sitting on the left side, and Burchett and Matt Gaetz and Luna and others who are on the right side. They were all asking the same kind of questions. They were on board. It might be the only issue where you have an actual bipartisanship in all of DC. So I want to encourage them to stick with it. They take a lot of grief.
Yeah, I'm sorry, maybe I wasn't clear. I very much support what they're doing. I'm just trying to help them get on track for all of us, right? Burchett's a hero, by the way.
Yes.
So David Paulides, he talks in his Missing 411 books about a lot of hidden things that are going on in the National Forest. Have you guys heard of these, and have you also spoken with him regarding this?
Yeah, Dave Paulides and I are good friends. I did the first 8 interviews with him on Coast to Coast. First when he was just writing about Bigfoot, and then it evolved into the 411. Had him on the program many times. We've done interviews for television. We just saw him last year at an event in Utah, and he's still digging in. And it's an incredibly interesting mystery, and I think he's, you know, for years he avoided giving his own opinion about what might be behind it, but I think he thinks it's basically UFO related, that people are being snatched, you know, and taken away, which puts a different spin on our friendly space brothers, you know, that maybe we're an agricultural product to them. Good luck disclosing that part of it. Yeah.
Is it possible that disclosure won't be allowed because our those in charge don't want average people to understand that we are being visited by beings who are so unfathomably advanced that they make our politicians and corporate executives literally look like a bunch of crazy baboons?
Well, I mean, it could be part of that. Stan Friedman, you saw a glimpse of him in that one video clip. He used to talk about this, is that, you know, disclosure would mean it'd be a doom for nations. And when we start thinking of ourselves as Earthlings and not Americans or Canadians or whatever, then it changes everything. And I think probably no government wants to come out and admit these things are flying around, they're abducting people, they might be eating people, and we can't do anything about it. It makes them look even more ridiculous than they look now.
First of all, I want to thank you for everything you've done in this stuff. You are so great. Thank you. And I want to ask Jeremy why Michael Schellenberger stolen for you Immaculate Constellation and why the Congress allowed this shit.
Man, you should ask him. Like, if you asked him who brought and put onto record the Immaculate Constellation formal document, I asked him in front of everybody. He'll tell you it was me. Why did they do that? Maybe they had a cause to try to position people to be their spokespeople. Maybe they had a cause to try to remove my name. Representative Burchett went on the record and said there was some security risk related to me. I didn't know I was a security risk. I mean, my mom told me so, but I didn't know for sure. I don't know. It kind of doesn't matter. I think what matters now is that you have heard from the witness, from the whistleblower, Matthew Brown, about Immaculate Constellation. Look, they play politic games. I was in those halls. You just see darkness in their eyes. It's corrosive like an acid. But some people are fighting the good fight, like Representative Burchett, Representative Luna, Representative Eric Burleson. Right now, those are the three that I'm counting on to do what you want them to do. So I don't know. It's a game. Who cares? I'm past it.
And I want also to tell you that the last interview of Matthew Brown was amazing because you can feel his feelings, and it was great. So thank you so much for everything you've done.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was a very sweet comment. You should go on X and start writing.
Hey, thanks you guys for everything you're doing. I'm assuming we're not going to get much out of the federal government or other governments, but there are a lot of people in this room right here that care a lot. And if you were an extraterrestrial or some other coming here, you'd want to watch this room because we're the leading edge of people that care, that are of goodwill largely. How could you speak directly to them and just bypass the whole government itself? Could you two, with your messages, articulate what humanity wants our new place in the universe to be?
Yeah. You know, a lot of people do seem to communicate with them. We hear these reports. I see Danny Sheehan back there. He's been at this longer than I have, and has talked to witnesses who say they've heard messages from these beings wherever they're from. I call them like alien editorials. The messages are pretty consistent over the decades. It's, hey, quit screwing up your planet, quit messing with nuclear bombs, clean up your act. I'm not sure that message is sunk in. We certainly haven't fixed any of those things. You know, obviously, non-human intelligence, maybe there's more than one, wherever they're from, wherever they're here, they are the true architects of the secrecy. We get little bits and pieces and glimpses, of other realities and glimpses of their technology. They play mind games with us. If they wanted to show themselves and reveal it, they could. You know, there's all kinds of demonstrations that would be, no turning back, but they haven't. So the secrecy starts with them, and then it gets to the government level, and we've already heard a lot about that. I don't know why they don't. I kind of wish they would. There are a lot of people who, like the remote viewing programs and things of that sort, psychic powers, and people who seem to be in contact with them and can have back and forth conversations. I'm not one of those. I wish I were.
Could you ask them?
Yeah.
I mean, they watch Weaponized apparently, so we'll put out an APB. But look, there's many paths to the mountaintop. Everything, if you have some kind of contact that you want to explore, you should do that. We're going to do journalism. Congress is going to do Congress stuff. There we go. Everybody's fighting towards a similar goal. What's up?
Got a non-UFO question for Jeremy.
Radical and weird.
On your, no, well, not too weird. On your show, I see you driving a Tesla truck. You still have that, and why?
And he walks away without facing me for the answer. It's called the Space Tank, and it's the fucking future, and it's awesome, and I wanted to be part of the future. But I love your hat.
Hi guys. Thank you for coming. Appreciate everything you guys do. My question is, do you guys directly believe that things like the Skinwalker Ranch are in direct relation to the UAP phenomenon? And if so, do you guys believe it's more extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional? Because a lot of the things that happened at Skinwalker Ranch were, here in 1 second, gone the next. It seemed very instantaneous.
Yeah, it's a real mystery. I mean, it started as a UFO-UAP investigation. That's what attracted Robert Bigelow to the Uinta Basin. People have been seeing these things there as long as humans have lived in that part of the country, in northeastern Utah, and seeing, the strange craft. There was a book in the 70s. It was written by Frank Salisbury, the Utah UFO Display. The foreword was by J. Allen Hynek. Stuff's been going on there a long time before the ranch became well known. But when Bigelow heard about these UFOs of all different shapes and sizes being seen on that property, concentrated there, he went in, talked to the rancher, and bought it. What he didn't know was all the other stuff that was going on. And then the public didn't hear about some of the rest of that for a long time. They came in, they put a team on the property, cattle mutilations, crop circles, Bigfoot, holes in the sky that seemed to have craft coming in and out. They would see craft that go right into the mesa, fly into it without causing a pebble to drop. The neighbors had creatures that they were seeing. There were abductions, all these animal mutilations, cows, cats, dogs being incinerated, and it was always different. It was always different. It never did the same thing. The people who were there, the team that were there, felt that they were being watched. None of it made sense. This isn't how we understand UFOs with all this other weird stuff going on. Poltergeist type activity. It doesn't mean that they were investigating poltergeist, but that's how we would categorize some of the weird things that were happening. Mind games that would happen. And then once it happened, it never happened exactly that way again. They'd put cameras where there'd been activity, and then it goes over here. How it relates to UFOs, all that stuff, we don't know. But it seemed to be that what was going on at the ranch, that's still going on at the ranch, was telling us it's a learning curve. All these things are related somehow. You got to figure it out. That was the spin I had on it. It was kind of a incredibly positive sort of a spin for a sourpuss like me. But because of that investigation and the book that we wrote, the DIA got interested. They had OSAP. It led to ATIP, and so it did have some positive effects. But I don't think we're closer to any answers of what it's all about. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Thank you very much for your time.
I think we have one more maybe.
Yeah, so we have about 60 seconds, so check it out.
I'll make
After
it
this
fast.
question, I'm very sociable. I'll be over there. We can talk. If you got a question for George, raise your hand, do it now. But we'll be right over there at the end.
My question has to do with Matt Brown's presentation and a rather well-known podcaster claiming this week that Matt made a mistake and he mistook the Immaculate Constellation for a war game. Have you heard that?
Yeah, of course. In our initial investigations, that was one of the things that we all talked about, including with Matt Brown.
Yeah.
And if you listen to the episode, you'll see why he obliterates that nonsense instantaneously in probably episode 1.
Mm-hmm. It was ignored by unnamed podcast.
I don't care. Here's the deal. You got to watch the episode in order to understand it. So whoever the podcaster is should start watching more things before they talk. But no, it was not a war game, Shriver war game. That was one theory. We wanted to make sure. We checked with multiple sources. George and I did. It was an actual program. And additionally, if you really paid attention, the Immaculate Constellation was just the gateway. It was just the moment. He reported on 7 different categories of, if you read the first sentence of the Immaculate Constellation report he wrote that is officially on Congressional record, a multi-year internal investigation that he did. But anyway, thank you for the question because it was a setup.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I love that.
By the way, the claim is that the program is under the White House, under the National Security Council. You'll recall earlier in our conversation tonight, we talked about the NSC having this gathering of brainiacs to figure out is disclosure a good idea or a bad idea. So I think it makes sense based on what Matt has told us and told the world now that something like what he described could be housed exactly there where Congress, even the DOD, would not be aware of it.
And here's the deal, just real quick, because we're going to wrap up here and we're going to talk to you over here. When somebody makes claims to us, we are lucky. George has his own set of sources for decades. I have my own set of sources, and we go and we find out, is somebody full of bullshit or not? Turns out a lot of what he described in the Immaculate Constellation report, we have seen separately years ago, up to date now even. So we knew he was telling the truth, even though he didn't know how we knew. So if you understand our job, we were able to vet in ways that are very unique due to many years of sources. Here's the deal. To be respectful of this location, we're going to step over here. And if you got a burning question for George and me, real quick before we have to pee, let's talk. And then we're going to see you all weekend and have fun. So thank you so much for coming.
And tomorrow, there's a whole day of great speakers. Lou Elizondo and Danny will be here, and then we're going to be on a panel that will be taking your questions tomorrow night. Recall our motto is investigate the unexplained, don't explain the uninvestigated.
Thank you so much.